welcome to the lecture of thermodynamics. In this lecture, we will talk about heat and heat capacity. So what is heat? Now in the very first class of thermodynamics, we have discussed that two modes of transformation of energy are there. One is heat and another one is work. That means heat is one of the mode of transformation of energy. So heat is one of the mode of transformation of energy. Okay. Now let's talk about heat capacity. Suppose there is a substance and the temperature, the initial temperature of the substance is T1. Now I want to raise the temperature of this substance from T1 to T2. And to do that, I need dq amount of heat. Okay. So there is substance, the temperature of the substance is T1. I want to raise the temperature from T1 to T2, and for that dq amount of heat is required. That means the temperature difference is T2 minus T1. I designate it as dt. Okay. Now if you take the ratio of dq to dt, this will give heat capacity. So designate it as C. Okay. That means what is heat capacity? Heat capacity is the ratio of heat required to temperature difference. Okay. So that is heat capacity. Now you can give another definition of heat capacity is that you have C is equal to dq by dt. So suppose dt is 1 degree centigrade or 1 Kelvin. Now when I am saying 1 degree centigrade or 1 Kelvin, both are same when I am talking about the change in temperature. Because if you see, suppose T1 is 100 degree centigrade and T2 is 101 degree centigrade. In this case dt will be T2 minus T1, that means 1 degree centigrade. Now if you convert this T1 in Kelvin, that means it will be 373 Kelvin, and if you convert this T2 in Kelvin unit, then it will be 374 Kelvin. Okay. Now if you take dt, that means T2 minus T1, you will get 1 Kelvin. That means when you are talking about, when you are discussing about the change in temperature, in that case degree centigrade and Kelvin both are same. But when we are talking about, we are discussing about the change in temperature. Okay. That means when I am saying the change in temperature is 1 degree centigrade or 1 Kelvin, both are same. In that case, what will happen? C will become equal to dq. That means another definition of heat capacity can be given like this, that if you want to raise the temperature of a system, of a substance by 1 degree centigrade or by 1 Kelvin, if you want to raise the temperature by 1 degree centigrade or 1 Kelvin for a system, then the heat required for it is known as heat capacity. Fine. Okay. So this is heat and heat capacity. Now in our previous discussion, we have discussed about this, that heat, both heat and heat capacity, both are path function. Both are path function. That means when I am going from initial state to final state, the path I am taking to achieve the final state from initial state, the path I am choosing, the path I am taking, that is important to us in case of path function. Okay. That means as heat capacity is a path function, that means we have to take into consideration the path which is taken to achieve the final state from initial state. Okay. So we'll discuss heat capacity in two paths. One is at constant pressure path. Constant pressure path means Cp, and another one is constant volume path. Constant volume path means Cv. That means when you are talking about heat capacity is dq by dt. That means when you are talking about Cp, that means P is constant, that means it is dq dt at constant P, dq by dt at constant P. And when you are talking about Cv, that means dq by dt at constant V. Okay, so this is heat and heat capacity. Now we will discuss about some important points regarding heat capacity. Now we will talk about some important point regarding heat and heat capacity. The first point is, from the first law of thermodynamics, you can write this dq is equal to du plus pdv, where work is equal to minus pdv. This you know. Now from first law you can write this dq is equal to du plus pdv. Okay. Now suppose you are taking a condition where volume is constant. Okay. At constant volume condition. So the volume is constant. So volume is constant. Okay. Now if volume is constant, V is constant, that means dV will be equal to 0. Okay. Now if you put dV is equal to 0 in this equation, dq equal to du plus pdv, then what you will get? You will get dq at constant V is equal to du plus 0, because this is pdv and dv is equal to 0 because V is constant. That means what you are getting, dq at constant V is equal to du. That means you are getting that the heat taken by the system at constant volume, dq at constant V, that means heat taken at constant volume by the system is equal to change in internal energy. Okay, this is what? This is change in internal energy, and this is dq at constant V. That means heat taken by the system at constant volume is equal to change in internal energy. Okay. Okay. Fine. Now let's discuss another important point regarding heat and heat capacity. That is, according to the mathematical definition of enthalpy, H, you will get H is equal to U plus PV. U is internal energy. Okay, so enthalpy H is equal to U plus PV. Now if you take dH, then you will get du plus pdv plus vdp. This you will get. Okay. Now from first law of thermodynamics, you know dq is equal to du plus pdv. Now here you have this du plus pdv. That means instead of du plus pdv, you can put dq. Okay. So what you are getting, dh is equal to dq plus vdp. Now if you take a condition where pressure is constant, that means pressure is constant, that means dp is equal to 0. Okay, that means dp is equal to 0 because p is constant. In that case, what will happen? dH at constant p is equal to dq at constant p plus 0, because this part is 0. dp is equal to 0 because p is constant. That means what you are getting dH is equal to dq at constant p. That means heat taken by the system at constant pressure is equal to change in enthalpy. Okay, so what you are getting, the heat taken by the system at constant pressure is equal to change in enthalpy. Okay, fine. So now we have these two things in our hand. dq at constant V is equal to du and dq at constant P is equal to dH. These two things we have. Okay, that means heat taken by the system at constant volume is equal to change in internal energy, and the heat taken by the system at constant pressure is equal to change in enthalpy. Okay, now heat capacity is equal to dq by dt. Now if you take Cp, that means heat capacity at constant pressure, in that case Cp is equal to dq at constant P by dt, but dq at constant P is equal to dH, change in enthalpy. So you put, instead of dq at constant P, dH. So you get dH by dt. So from here what you are getting is that dH is equal to Cp dt. Fine. So dH is equal to Cp dt. And if you write Cv, then it is dq at constant V by dt, and dq at constant V is equal to change in internal energy, that means du by dt. So from here you are getting that du is equal to Cv dt. Okay, fine. So now we have dH is equal to Cp dt. This Cp may be a function of t or may not be a function of t. Both the cases are possible. Okay. Now suppose Cp is not a function of t and you are doing integration from h1 to h2, dH is equal to integration from t1 to t2 Cp dt. So from left hand side you will get delta H, okay, h2 minus h1 delta H you will get, and from this side what you will get, Cp is not a function of t. When Cp is not a function of t, that means you can write Cp outside the integration sign and then integration of dt from t1 to t2. So you will get Cp t2 minus t1, or you can write delta H equal to Cp into t2 minus t1. Okay. Now if you have the condition when Cp is a function of temperature, in that case suppose Cp is equal to A plus Bt plus Ct square, it is given, then you have to put the value of Cp, A plus Bt plus Ct square, and then you have to do integration accordingly. Okay, then you cannot put the Cp outside the integration sign, because in that case Cp is a function of t. Okay. So, and when Cp is not a function of t, in that case you can put Cp outside the integration sign and you will get delta is equal to Cp into t2 minus t1. So you have this also, du equal to Cv dt. Now here also two cases are possible. Cv may be a function of temperature, Cv may not be a function of temperature. If Cv is not a function of temperature, then you will get delta U is equal to Cv into T2 minus T1, and if Cv is a function of temperature, then the function will be given to U. You put the value of Cv, do the integration accordingly, and you will get the value of delta U. Okay, fine. Now let's discuss another important point regarding heat and heat capacity. Suppose there is a system and heat is given to this system. Now when heat is given to the system, then generally temperature will increase, but there is an exception to it. That means what I am trying to say is that if heat is given to a system, then the temperature of the system may or may not rise. That means the temperature will increase if heat is given to a system. This is a normal case, but there is an exception to it, and the exception is in case of reversible phase transition. In case of reversible phase transition, when heat is given to a system, the temperature rise does not take place. Suppose H2O is in liquid and it will go into H2O in vapor phase. Okay, for that you need dq amount of heat. Okay, but in reversible phase transition, the temperature and the pressure remains constant. The temperature in this case initially is 100 degree centigrade, and after going to vapor phase, T2 is also 100 degree centigrade. That means temperature is same in liquid, in vapor. That means if you take the change in temperature, this is 0. Okay, but the system is taking heat. That means dq amount of heat is supplied to the system, and H2O in liquid moves to liquid in vapor. Okay, but in this case system is taking dq amount of heat, but what we are observing is that the change in temperature is 0. T1 is also 100 degree centigrade and T2 is also 100 degree centigrade. That means there is no change in temperature. That means the system is taking the heat, but this is not leading to the increase in temperature. If a system takes heat, then generally the temperature of the system increases. But there is an exception to it, and the exception is reversible phase transition, where the temperature does not change. That means there is no change in temperature. Now when there is no change in temperature, that means dT is equal to 0. Now you know heat capacity is dq by dt. That means dq has a definite value. I am providing dq amount of heat, and when I am providing dq amount of heat, then H2O in liquid is moving into H2O in vapor. That means dq has a definite value, but there is no change in temperature. That means dt is 0. That means C is dq by 0. That means C is infinite. That means the value of heat capacity in a certain case in reversible phase transition can become infinite. Okay. Now let's discuss another important point regarding heat and heat capacity. According to the first law of thermodynamics, you have this: dq is equal to du plus pdv. This part means change in internal energy. This is change in internal energy, and this part comes from work, because work is, according to IUPAC, is equal to minus pdv. Fine. That means heat taken by the system according to first law is distributed in two parts. One is changing the internal energy, and another one is doing some work. Okay, do work. Okay, so according to first law of thermodynamics, heat taken by the system is distributed into two parts. One is to change the internal energy, and another part is to do some work. Okay, now when there is a part which is going to change the internal energy, now the change in internal energy will lead to increase in temperature. Okay, fine. That means according to first law of thermodynamics, heat taken by the system is distributed into two parts. One, to make a change in internal energy, and that will lead to change in temperature, and another part of heat taken by the system is for doing some work. Okay. Now according to first law of thermodynamics, you have dq is equal to du plus pdv. Okay, now when the pressure is constant, that means at constant pressure, when the pressure is constant, dq is distributed into two parts. to make a change in internal energy, and to do some work. That means heat taken by the system is distributed into two parts, and this change in internal energy will lead to change in temperature. Fine. Now when the condition is constant volume condition, now volume is constant, that means dV is 0, that means work is 0, that means in this case dq is du, that means the heat taken by the system totally goes to make a change in internal energy, and this will lead to change in temperature. Okay. So when the condition is at constant pressure, the heat taken by the system is distributed into two parts, and when the condition is volume is constant, the heat taken by the system is only distributed to one thing, and that is to make a change in internal energy. That means to generate same temperature difference, that means when dt is same, I want to generate same temperature difference. In that case, heat required at constant pressure condition will be more than the heat required at constant volume condition, because that means what I am saying, heat required at constant pressure condition is greater than heat required at constant volume condition when I want to generate the same temperature difference, because at constant pressure condition the heat taken by the system is distributed into two parts. One is it is doing some work, and another part is to make a change in internal energy, and that will lead to the change in temperature. But when the condition is constant volume condition, in that case the heat taken by the system is totally going to make a change in internal energy, and that is leading to change in temperature. That means the heat taken by the system at constant pressure will be more than heat taken by the system at constant volume if I want to generate the same temperature difference. So dq at constant P is greater than dq at constant V. That means you know this Cp is equal to dqp by dt, and Cv is equal to dqv by dt, and what we are getting is that dq at constant P is greater than dq at constant V to generate the same temperature difference. Okay, so dt is same, and dq at constant P is greater than dq at constant V. So from here we can conclude that Cp is greater than Cv. Okay, so Cp is greater than Cv. That means the heat capacity at constant pressure is always greater than heat capacity at constant volume. But when I am saying heat capacity at constant pressure is always greater than heat capacity at constant volume is not a correct statement. The more correct statement will be Cp is never less than Cv. So if I say Cp is always greater than Cv, that will not be a very correct statement, because there is a special condition where Cp can be equal to Cv. That we will read in our next class, but now I am saying that there is a special condition where Cp can be equal to Cv. So if I say that Cp is always greater than Cv, then that will be a wrong statement probably. So the more correct statement, if I want to be very accurate, then the more accurate statement will be Cp is never less than Cv, because Cv. Now we will compare the heat capacity of liquid and solid. Okay, so in liquid, what you have rotational degrees of freedom, you have rotational degrees of freedom as well as vibrational degrees of freedom. Okay, and in solid you have only vibrational degrees of freedom. Okay, In liquid you have rotational as well as vibrational degrees of freedom, and in solid you have vibrational degrees of freedom only. Okay. Now suppose you want to generate the same temperature difference for liquid and solid. That means dt is same. That means you want to generate the same temperature difference for liquid as well as solid. In which case you need more heat? That is the question. Now in liquid, heat taken by the system is distributed in two parts: rotational degrees of freedom and vibrational degrees of freedom. And in case of solid, the heat taken by the solid is distributed only to vibrational degrees of freedom. That means heat. Now to generate the same temperature difference for liquid as well as solid, the liquid will take more heat than solid. I'm saying, suppose I want to generate the same temperature difference in case of liquid and in case of solid. Then I'm saying, to generate the same temperature difference, liquid will take more heat than solid, because the heat taken by the liquid will be distributed in two parts: rotational degrees of freedom and vibrational degrees of freedom, and then the temperature increase will start. But in case of solid, heat taken by the solid will be transferred to vibrational degrees of freedom and it will start increasing the temperature. That means in case of solid, less heat is required to generate the same temperature difference than solid. That means dq for liquid is greater than dq for solid to generate the same temperature difference. Now if this is true, then you can write that the heat capacity is dq by dt. That means to generate the same temperature difference dt, as dq of liquid is greater than dq of solid, that means you can say heat capacity of liquid is greater than heat capacity of solid. This you can conclude from here. Fine. Okay. So if we summarize today's lecture, at the very first we have discussed about what is heat capacity. Then we have said, as heat capacity is a path function, we will discuss heat capacity in two ways: Cp and Cv at constant pressure, at constant volume. Then we have discussed some important point regarding heat capacity, heat and heat capacity. So that's it for today's lecture.